Good morning around the Diamond family. Welcome back for another rousing episode of Around the Diamond. It is Grand Slam Sam and baseball here, coming to you Saturday morning talking about America's pastime, baseball. No, not football. No, not cricket, baseball. Bill, how are you doing on this fine morning, good sir?
Hey, giddy up. I watched my Dodgers give up 5 home runs in an inning and a half last night, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But hey, today is Jack Roosevelt Robinson Day, so everybody's going to wear number 42, and I am excited about that. Excited about that.
It is a great day. It is a great day for baseball.
Yes, sir.
Bill and I talked about a very exciting podcast we are going to start formulating.
Yep.
So I can't wait till we get that one going. Keep a
Should be a good
lookout
time.
around the Diamond fans for around the All-Star break. We got some time, so we're going to make sure it is worth all of your whiles to be on to listen to that podcast. But Bill, let's not waste any more time. We're already a minute and 20 seconds into the show. Let's keep it on moving. So we're going to go right into the AL standings. Bill, do you want to take us through our AL standings this week?
Yeah, listen, this is incredible. So the Rays finally lost a game. Starting out 13-0 is impressive. The Blue Jays handed in their first loss. Again, I'm going to tell you that the AL East is the division that every one of those teams can make the playoffs. I'm going to come back to them in a second. AL Central, Twins started out like lights out. I'm surprised that the White Sox are playing the way that they're playing. That actually shocks me a little bit. And I'm not surprised with the A's where they're at, the first team to 11 losses. The Rangers starting out, although when you see the injury report, you're going to see that they took a big blow here pretty quick. But besides for that, listen, no surprises except for the Rays starting out pretty quick at 13-1. Now, I will tell you this, as Sam and I go through this, do not sleep on the Baltimore Orioles. There's a lot of things that they're doing right now. A lot of things that they're doing right now. So don't sleep on the Baltimore Orioles. They are the team. Watch them. Watch them. Watch them. Watch them. And sorry, Yankee fans. Sorry, Red Sox Nation, but they're the team.
Hey, now, Bill, you did mention something when we started doing the standings, like, you're going to come back to the AL East, every team that makes the playoffs. This looking at the American League, what is it that stands out so much about the American League East over a division like the AL West, where you've got the Rangers who reloaded, the Angels who, they speak for
Good.
themselves, Anthony Rendon and Shohei Ohtani, the Mariners really picking it up with their rookies coming up and really going into their farm system. And the end of what is it about the AL East that makes them so precedent over the team over a division like the West? Real quick.
A number of things. But to say this quickly, everything. These teams have power, they have speed, they have pitching. All of them are built for October. Whereas you see some teams, it surprises me that the defending champs are 6-8, that they start out as slow as they did. Doesn't surprise me in the sense though that Jose Altuve is out, so that hurts. The A's, that isn't surprising, but in the NL or in the AL East, all these teams are built for success, and some of them are incredibly young, like the Orioles, and are going to be around for a while. So pay close attention to that. And I mean, the Angels have not Rocky Balboa, Anthony Rendon on their team. So I mean, we'll see how that all plays itself out, right? Let's get ready to rumble.
Now, real what's an interesting, as you bring up the AL East and being such a powerhouse, out of batting averages by team, the Blue Jays are the number one team by batting average currently, and the Rays are the number 3 team currently by batting average.
Yep.
And then, which is shocking because the funny thing after that, the next AL team is the Chicago White Sox, and they're in 10th place. Every other team between 1 and 10 is a National League team.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, and
So,
everybody's given the Rays a lot of love, which you should. But let's not forget that they started their season out against Detroit and then Washington and Oakland. Okay. Look
yeah,
at where those teams are at. Those teams are in rebuilding years. Now they did
yep.
sweep Boston. So that was a little surprising. I thought Boston would hand them their first loss, but they swept Boston. Now the Blue Jays said, not in our house. No, no, not in our house.
Yep. Well, mentioned Boston. Boston is the number 26th ranked team by batting average.
Oh, so they're up there.
And the Yankees are the number 20th team by batting average. So it is interesting. I do have to say, as I'm going through this, though, what's shocking to me is we're going to move over to this National League standings, and as I bring it back real quick to the teams and where they sit by batting average, unfortunately, your Dodgers are sitting at number 22 by batting average.
Yeah, but they're in the top
which
30.
is kind of. Hey, look, everyone's in the top 30. Unfortunately for you, though, my Giants are in the top 15.
Yeah, well,
But, taking it over to the National League East, because as much time as we could spend on the AL, we got to spend equally as much time on the NL. So looking at the NL side of the house, it's what's interesting about this is compared from last week's standings to this week's standings, there really wasn't much change in any of these divisions. Most of the divisions by order from top to bottom stayed the same. So right now we got the Braves rocking in leading the NL East. Again, the NL East is a division that, just like the AL East and as well, like almost any division in the NL, a lot of these teams can make the playoffs. You got to watch the NL East. It is such a close battle right now. It's actually close in every 14 games in, so it's still pretty early. Mets are holding strong though at second place, especially with the injuries that they've curtailed. And we'll get into more of that as we get into the injury report. Looking at the NL Central, Brewers rocking it strong again, week over week, running a 10-3 record with the Cubs trailing behind slowly. But the Pirates are in it. And that's interesting because Bill and I both thought the Pirates were going to be trailing hard by this point of the season to be the first team to 11 losses, and the A's beat them to it. So it's nice to see that the Pirates are doing something, and actually in a positive and not a negative in their record standings. And then coming over to the NL West, as Bill mentioned, the unfortunate loss to the D-backs last night, I believe it was, right? You said?
No, we lost to the oh my gosh, who did we play last night? It wasn't the Diamondbacks. It was the Cubs.
Cubs. Cody B coming back into his home, Dodgerland. Giving Cody B the benefit of the doubt. They want to say, you know what, you left on good terms, we'll give you a win. Don't expect us in the next 2 games. But Diamondbacks right now are holding a half a game lead right now over the Dodgers. Padres are trailing right behind them. But this division, the NL West, is super tight. While 3 of the 4 teams are under 500 right now, these 3 teams in a week could easily be well over 500. So it'll be really interesting to see how this next week goes, and to see how the shuffle curtails.
Yep. Yeah. No. It absolutely.
Aside.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised with how the Padres started, to be honest with you. I'm more surprised, believe it or not. I'm actually much more surprised with how the Phillies started than the Padres. The Phillies in 14 games, if you would have told me 14 games into the season that they would be 5-9, I would have laughed at you and said, all right,
Yep.
well, stop taking your medication, right? I mean, I would have expected him to be,
Yeah.
8-6 or 10-4 or something, but not 5-9.
Well, you did hear what the Phillies are doing right now, right?
Which part?
They're training Bryce Harper to be
Yeah,
their new first baseman.
yeah. Well, with Reese Hopkins out, yeah, and that actually makes more sense because they're gonna need him on defense, and right now with the way that his surgery is and coming back and things, those long throws from the outfield probably aren't a good idea. So
Right.
put him at first base, good, no problem.
My
So
worry, honestly, my worry for him at first base though, is that he doesn't have the length that a typical first baseman has. He doesn't have that same type of outreach stretch. You look at a first baseman, normally they're a little bit taller, they're a little bit lengthier, they try to get that extra reach out. They've got a lot more flexibility, especially when it comes to getting that split in, so you could do that long reach to get the ball before the guy gets to first base. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to do in that role. Because again, you have to have that type of flexibility. So while he doesn't have to worry about, he's gonna that reach, I think, might hurt him. But again, I agree. I think Philly starting 5-9 is I didn't see it coming. I for certain didn't see it coming. So it'll be interesting to watch how this National League East continues moving forward to see if they can pick it up. Let's go into some stats. We talk a lot about how the teams are doing as a whole, but when we get down to the nitty-gritty of it, and we look at some of these statistics, it's not really showing from a standings perspective how these individual players are doing. So, I mean, when we look at this, what I find to be the most interesting about it is that there are 3 people on this entire list where their team is actually first in their division.
yeah, and these are a little just slightly misleading because we're 14 games into it. So in a 30-second wrap up on
Right.
this, when you look at win losses, that's going to even itself out on the pitcher side over time. Now, granted, Garrett Cole and Julio Urias and Joe Ryan are getting a ton of run support, as well as Shane McClanahan is getting a ton of run support right now. So it makes it easier for those guys. That's going to average out over the season. The one that and the batting averages will come down, but notice how you have an RBI leader that's from Baltimore. Again, don't sleep on Baltimore. Notice how you have 3 guys in the batting average lead that are from Toronto. That's going to equal itself out here pretty quick, where you're going to see Toronto start to creep up. And then when you look at the strikeout leaders, again, Minnesota, Lopez and Ryan, right? They're pitching well. If you're going to pitch well, and you and I are going to talk about something on the next slide, but if you pitch
Yep.
well, you're going to win. But Julio Urias and Garrett Cole and Ryan and Joe Ryan and Kyle Gibson and Shane McClanahan all having 3 wins. Yeah, they're playing for teams that are scoring runs now. Does that mean that they're going to have 26 wins and 2 losses this season? Probably not. But, it's still a pretty awesome thing,
No.
right?
Oh, 100%. And I think, again, the one thing that is going to start to factor into this is the comfort level players are going to start getting with these new rules that are going into place. Again, we talked about it on the post game wrap that we did on Instagram Live on, what was it, Thursday, talking about the Giants Dodgers wrap up with the pitch clock. I think that's factoring into a lot of things right now on this next slide, but just looking at some of these current leaders, is there anyone that's shocking you more than another being on this list? And is there anyone that you're surprised currently isn't on this list?
So it's going to sound a little bit like a homer. That's a great question. It's going to sound a little bit like a homer on this. I'm surprised that
Mhm.
Freddie Freeman isn't on this batting average list yet. But he will when, uh, Miami's not going to have somebody that hits 500 all season. I hope that happens, but we'll see how that all plays itself out,
Mhm.
right? Um, I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised of a couple other pitchers like Shohei. I'm surprised that he's not on this list with wins. But again, the Angels aren't always giving run support. So right now, the five guys that have 3 wins are getting run support. And the strikeout
Correct.
leaders, that doesn't surprise me. Spencer Strider, uh, Lopez, Jacob DeGrom, you know that these guys strike out a lot of guys.
Mhm.
So
So doing some. I'm just trying to do it. Freeman right now has a 309 batting average. Where look, obviously these guys are rocking, 0.010% higher, or a hundredth of a percentage point higher than Freddie Freeman. So again, there is so much time, and we are so early in the season that these numbers are currently gonna drastically change. Um, but during this and looking at what we're about to look at, I think this is more where we're going to start seeing these rule changes coming more into effect with how surprising these numbers are. So we are currently on track from an MLB perspective to hit almost to hit approximately 150 stolen bases per week, which is insane. I will keep this picture up because this is still a phenomenal picture, Bill.
agreed.
But looking at this at the stolen base count so far, I mean, how shocking is it for you to see the stolen base count where it is?
Uh,
Do you find it shocking? Or do
well,
you feel like
no, the rule changes. The rule changes. What you do see on this list, though, again, remember, who did I say don't sleep on? Orioles.
Baltimore?
They have 2 guys on here. All 5 of these guys that are on here are making either are in first place, their teams are making headway towards that direction. We're
Correct.
going to have to learn how to play small ball. If we don't learn how to play small ball, we're not going to win. The 5-run home run is not going to do it for you every time. Look at this. I mean, 292 stolen bases, right? Corbin Carroll,
So
6. Did you ever think that you'd be saying his name on an around the diamond this early in the season?
no, I didn't
No.
actually think I'd ever say Corbin Carroll on this around the
Yeah,
time.
that's true. Good point.
You know, but now you mentioned small ball and
Mhm.
making sure that we're playing small ball. Now, are you looking at that from more of an offensive
Yeah, yeah,
perspective or from a defensive perspective? What's going to eventually be on the next slide?
yeah. Both,
Okay.
both, um, both. You know, again, Sam's a Giants fan. I'm a Dodger fan. That's the perspective that you get here. I watched the Dodgers lose 2 games this year so far because they couldn't defend against the small ball. In
Right.
those 2 games, they also didn't play small ball offensively, and it was 2 losses. Okay, now they play the National League West. You've got the Giants in
Yeah.
there. You've also got
And
the Padres in there, right?
mhm.
Those 2 wins or losses, sounds drastic, could make the difference between going golfing in October and actually playing baseball in October. Just that simple, at least in that
Yeah.
division.
No, 100%. And the reason why I ask if it's more primarily on the offensive side over the defensive side is because of this. We're
Yeah,
at almost 500 home runs in 14 games across Major League Baseball.
yeah, crazy.
490 home runs. We talk about how, small ball is a big factor into all of this, and that is a huge thing. But when we take it also to the perspective of these new rule changes, I think what we're starting to see more, and again, the pitch clock rule is going to drastically change throughout the season. Major League Baseball has already made it a point to make it clear to every single person that the pitch clock rule is going to be an ocean wave. It's going to grow and it's going to have highs and lows as the water rolls, similar to the pitch clock rule. So, would you say that the pitch clock is the bigger impact to having the small ball game be hurt, or do you think the pitch clock is increasing the home run game?
Yes.
And causing pitchers to be more tired, causing more home runs to be hit?
Yes to both.
Okay.
Yes.
Quick
to
explanation
both.
why.
Yeah. Yes to both. It's real simple, right? Watching the pitchers watch the runner, okay, and watching that freaking pitch clock, right? Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that I can watch a game in 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 15 minutes now. It's not a 4-hour event. Okay. Although I don't mind the 4-hour events, right? But now the pitchers are so focused on the runner, they're taking the eye off the batter. The batters are hitting home runs a lot more. I mean, it would be an interesting statistic, Sam, and maybe this is what we should do next week to prove our point, right? Let's pull up a statistic next week. Let's you and I do some research and find out how many home runs next week were hit, right? To add to that 490 total and see how many of them are solo versus how many of them are with runners on base.
I can try to do some digging and figure that out. Be a lot of man hours on my end, but for the Around the Diamond family, I will put the man hours in just to make sure that we can get that type of statistic.
A lot of man hours.
But I think, but I think you're right. I think the pitchers gaining arm fatigue, not being able to get set, not giving their arm a couple of extra seconds of rest before they're going and throwing their pitches is going to start impacting not only how small ball is how much small ball plays into the game, but how your pitchers are going to start being more impacted throughout the game. I think coaches right now are really having to be more strategic and saying we can't have our pitchers go out there and pitch 5-6 innings anymore. Yeah, we know they can man up and do 150 pitches. If they're having to speed through these pitches more and more and they're not being able to rest properly, we can't risk hurting them.
Well, okay, and this guy that you have on this slide. If I'm a pitcher, I'm worried about that guy because
let's not talk about this guy. I don't want to talk about this guy.
But he can hit.
I put him there because he's like, oh my god, I can't believe I hit a home run. Look at that. Look at my face. I was actually gonna put a little like cloud of like a speaking blog here, like you see in the comic book, being like, did I really hit the ball?
But I mean,
his face just looks so shocked.
The guy can hit though, and so here's the thing: if I'm a pitcher and I've got Lindor on first base dancing around, and I've already thrown over to him once, and I'm left-handed, and I'm looking at him, and I got to realize I got to do the pitch clock thing too. Oh crap! I throw a pitch, and I throw it right in his sweet spot. That's the look you're gonna get.
Yeah, and you're right. I think it's almost one of those things where righty batters or righty pitchers, I would almost say, have an advantage over lefty pitchers because lefty pitchers have to stare at the guy on first base.
Yeah.
Whereas righty batters or righty pitchers have their back to the guy at first base. So they don't have to see what's happening the entire time. They don't have to risk it. They have to rely on their catcher to make that adjustment. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things keep progressing. And I'll do some research. I'll try to figure out what's the home run break between, solo home runs and multi-run home runs. Because you're right. I think that'll be a really interesting statistic. I think from what I've seen more and more, we're seeing a lot more solo home runs than we are seeing multi-run home runs. But I'll try to get some digging into it, see if I can try to find that interesting stat. But as we also mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're seeing a lot of injuries right now. A lot of injuries right now. What's interesting about this week's injury report is that 4 of the injuries on this list are season-ending injuries.
Yep.
So just going through the first half of this injury report, you got Jeffrey Springs. He's expected to be out until the beginning of July with an arm injury. They're projecting July 1st. My feeling is they'll probably just keep him out until after the All-Star break to give him just a couple of extra weeks. It almost, unless they're in a position where this 13-game win streak that they started the season off really starts to hurt them, I think they'll probably give him a little extra time to let him keep the rehab and then start him right after the break. But Shane Vaz is out for the season with an elbow injury. You got Chicago. You got Matt Foster from the White Sox. He's out with a forearm injury. Orioles Dylan Tate is out with a forearm injury. Brewers Justin Wilson is out with an elbow injury. And then, wrapping up the top half of this, you got Roberto Perez out with a shoulder injury. So what we're seeing a lot more is a lot of more upper body arm injuries. And I think that is going to start that is really being impacted by the pitch clock. Because most of these guys on this list are guys that throw the ball more than anyone else on the field. They're the pitchers or the catchers. These guys are utilizing their body more and more, and they're not getting rest time. And I think it's going to really start to show more impactfully as the season goes on. Bill, take us through the second half of this list, though.
It's same. Brubaker out for the season. Cruz out until August 10th, which is the majority of the season. Corey Seager, which is a huge blow to the Rangers. I mentioned that when we were talking about the standings, out until at least the 15th. Jake's out for the rest of the season. Jose Quintana expected July 1st. Adam Duvall expected June 1st. When you see July 1st on here, Sam's right. It's probably through the All-Star break. It's not July 1st. They're probably going to give him some extra time. But the only thing that I would question in this, and the only thing that I would, it's what are you doing in the off season so that you don't hurt yourself? Like if you don't touch a baseball from October to February, your body's going to change and it's going to have to get used to all those things again. What type of workouts are you doing in the off season to prepare yourself to not get injured? Now, granted, some of these things just happen, right? The Gavin Lux injury at the beginning of the season, it just happened. Corey Seager's hamstring, those are things that happen. But when you're talking about forearms or elbows and you're throwing the ball a lot, what are you doing in the offseason to make sure that you're strengthening yourself up? This is sad. I don't want to see anybody on this list. I wish that every week we could report nobody was on this list, right?
Yes.
Because this is what these guys do for a career, and this is how they make their money.
Waiting for that week, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and each one of these guys is ultra competitive. They're competitive people. You don't want to see them on this ever. Right. So, I mean, my hat goes off to all these guys, especially the guys that are out for the rest of the season. That's tough.
Now, the one thing I think, just to not deflect from your point, but I think one of the things we do need to take into consideration in the difference between this offseason, this previous offseason, and off seasons from the past, and what off seasons are going to look like moving forward, is that now that this pitch clock has officially been implemented, is a rule built into MLB's game. I think the off-season rehabs are going to start looking a lot different than they have in the past, because players haven't had to adjust themselves previously to the short time frame of going into these games and moving up to the plate and the amount of time between pitches and stuff like that, where, in the past you could have a minute and 30 seconds from the first pitch to the second pitch because there was nothing in place to do it. So I agree with you that, if you didn't pick up a baseball this entire offseason, you're right. You're going to fail. You're expecting to get hurt. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can't, you're going to fight a losing battle. But I think we will start to see trainers readjusting their offseason plans. You're going to start seeing teams, strength and conditioning coaches and their nutritionists readjusting their plans with all of their players to saying, okay, now that we've gotten as the year goes on and they start to really finalize this rule set, we'll start to see, okay, this is what's in play. This is how we need to adjust.
Yep. No. Amen. Amen.
So, hey, look, we made it through. We got through this week. We're on to next week. And looking forward into next week, we got a lot of things from Top Fan Rivalry we get to look forward to, right? There's a lot of things from Top Fan that's going to be coming up. So, Bill, looking at the clubhouse schedule for next week, give me a walkthrough because we got some new fans. We got a lot of new fans to the clubhouse this week.
So we got Juicebox Jackie, who's been on a bunch before, and Val, and we got a Battle of Texas, and those two girls were so funny. I mean, I can't wait till you guys hear this on Monday. AJ is a Phillies fan. He's new to the clubhouse. We had three sisters that I met, two of them at a watch party. They came on. They were fantastic people on the podcast, and it was funny. They were talking over each other and talking. It was all about the Angels. It was pretty awesome. Jeff and Jana are on. They go by Sibling Rivalries. They have their own podcast. One's a Dodger fan, one's an Angel fan. And it was fun for them to go, at each other. And then Chris, who's a Phillies fan, new to the clubhouse, he'll be on Friday. As far as lives are concerned, keep yourself out, looking out for when Top Fan goes live. I'm going live twice today. I'm going live with Val at Kauffman Stadium. I'm going live with Jackie at Minute Maid Park. I might go live with somebody today at Dodger Stadium. Mikey Bleeds Blue and I have a live scheduled as a series recap with the Cubs with a gal named Victoria. And then we're going to have one on Wednesday after the Mets series is over. Plus, anybody and everybody that goes to ballparks are reaching out and wanting to go live. I want to see their experience at these ballparks. So keep an eye out. There's going to be a bunch of stuff coming up this week.
And I'm going to have an exceptionally fun live experience in June that I'm going to do with Bill.
Yes.
I haven't even mentioned it to Bill yet where I'm going to be this June and where we're going to go live from. But once I mention it to him, I'm sure he's going to be happy. But on top of looking at this amazing Top Fan clubhouse schedule list, there is a brand new watch party coming to you in just a couple of weeks. Bill is finalizing a location as we speak. During Around the Diamond, he's been in constant communication with this location to lock in the next Top Fan Rivalry watch party. It's going to be held on May 12th from 7 to 11, or I'm sorry, from 7 to 10, maybe 11, depending on how big the game goes. It's going to be Dodgers versus the Padres. It's going to be awesome. Keep a lookout for where this mystery location is going to be. Make sure you're checking out topfanrivalry.com. Right there on the main page, all you got to do is click the watch party link. It will directly take you there where you can get all the details about the next watch party and future watch parties for the ones that are coming to your area. And there's going to be a couple surprise ones that we just throw in there because Bill and I like to keep it spicy, so to speak. Now, Bill, anything else we got to be looking out for?
Oh my gosh, we got the logos, we got the new merch coming out, we got these watch parties. Sam just mentioned the watch party that we're doing in San Diego. We've got Houston, Atlanta, and Boston coming up, possibly Philly. So it's just exciting times. Just pay attention. And you know what, everybody? Send your friends to the locker room. If they want good baseball content, we got it for you. We got the weekly review. We got this Around the Diamond. We got the rivalry talk, which, Sam, we launched yesterday, the second episode. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not.
I have not yet, but I can't wait to look at watching three teams that I don't watch regularly, two of which I despise more than life, go back and forth talking with the Angels fans. But
can I tell you something too? We're going to do a rivalry talk when the Astros group is in LA playing the Dodgers. It's going to be Astros versus Yankees. Tell me how that's going to go.
Okay, I definitely can't wait to watch that one. But the way you can watch all of this stuff, go to topfanrivalry.com, use the promo code Grand Slam, all caps. That will get you 10% off, not just your back-end locker room access to topfanrivalry.com, but all of the merch with all the new logos, all the Cooperstown logos, which is right behind Bill. It is all right there in the merch store on topfanrivalry.com. But I know we've got to wrap this up because we got to let you all go on with your day, get everything out of the way that you need to get done so you can get home and watch your baseball team get out on the field and do what it does. So, Bill, any final notes you got to bring up to the team?
No. I think we did great. Thanks for watching this episode, everybody. And again, refer friends. We do this. This is labor of love. But like Sam says, get in, refer your friends to the locker room, have them use that code Grand Slam. Giddy up. You'll have a good time. So look forward to talking to you next week.
And you know what? We also want to hear what you want us to talk about. So on a final note, make sure you're dropping lines to either myself at grand_slam Sam on Instagram and Twitter, or at Top Fan Rivalry on Instagram and Twitter. Let us know what you want us to talk about on Around the Diamond every Saturday, and we will do our best. I just want to say thank you all for joining us. And as I always say, to conclude this show, we will see you on the field. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a great day.